Welcome to the Beloved Plant channel. You've been asking me to display some of these plants that are always on the background for some of my videos. How couldn't I spend more time talking about these? They are so pretty. They have this vintage looking retro print kind of patterns in their leaves, and they also require the same type of care. They are all house plants, will do well in half shade. Stick around, you'll not regret it. Let's start with the Begonia maculata, also known as polka dot plant or polka dot begonia. There's not a centimeter of this plant that is just not gorgeous. The back of the leaves are red, which just make it even more charming. And you'll notice that the shape of the leaves remind you of an angel wing as well. The cherry at the top for some, they do flower once a year. This little delicate white flowers. Now, these leaves will drop as the year passes by. And if you keep the plant, keep watering it, keep giving it all the nutrients that it needs, it's going to grow out a new branch with new leaves out of the spot where the original leaf dropped out of. It's an easy care, half shade plant. It will get burned if you expose it to direct sunshine for too many hours a day, so it's an ideal house plant. This is the Tradescantia Zebrina, also known as inch plant. Wait, this is part of a wax flower, not the flower from this plant in particular, which does flower. It's a tiny little purple flowers that it gives. It is a lovely species to have as a hanging plant. Some varieties can also climb, although they don't climb too high up. This is also great to have indoors. It's a half shade plant. This is a plant that's been growing in half shade, and that's how you see these little lines, the lovely purple lines in the middle. The leaf is completely purple at the back, which is great for you to play with decoration in the house. If you have a white plant or a variegated version of anything behind it, it just looks gorgeous. If you leave it too exposed to direct sunlight, it's going to turn completely purple or kind of pink. It does well as well, but the leaves tend to dry out, so it prefers shade for sure. I give it plenty of water, it never complains. Another one of the prettiest plants you'll ever see, Calathea Orbifolia. This belongs to the family of prayer plants, so they are tropical forest plants. They will grow beneath trees, so they also like shade and plenty of water and mist. I grow this plant for many years already, and I've observed that the leaves die off completely at a given time of the year. But if you continue to water it and to care for it, I promise you that the leaves will come back. Just don't give up on it. This is another house plant that I've had in the house forever. Spider plant, Chlorophytum. It's so easy to care for. It's really die hard. Like if you're no good with plants, this plant will survive you. It does so well in the half shade. It does well being thirsty as well. But look, that's not to say it's going to develop the same way as if you watered it. This first one here, I kind of kept outside during the summer months, kind of away from direct sunlight. And this one is in the house and I forget to water it a lot. The other one is getting rain, so you can see the difference. The leaves are so much thinner in this one. It's alive, it's okay, but it's not exuberant as the one on the left here. So treat it well if you can, and it will be more beautiful. Peperomia Angulata. I just love this plant. I know I tell you I love every plant, but this one, look at these veins. The leaf veins are almost like neon. It's very unique with this size of leaf. This plant enjoys very rich potting compost. I also water it plenty, but I do wait for the soil to dry out. Like most plants, it will develop faster if you keep it closer to light. It will tolerate direct sunlight, it won't get burned, but it also tolerates being further away from the window, like a meter or so. To talk about flamboyant leaf veins and not mention a Fittonia is almost like a sacrilege. Look at this plant. It is very unique in the way it looks. But this one is considered to be advanced, meaning if you neglect it, it will die. It needs loads of water, which is why I put it in this clay pot. The clay allows the soil to transpire more quickly. And you might say, wait a minute, don't you want the plant to be moist? Yes, you do, but in my case, I do water it very often and I'm afraid of actually overwatering, killing it by actually giving it too much water. Look at how many varieties you have for this plant. And I was talking about the leaf vein. It's also known as nerve plant, right? Because the nerve of the leaves are always popping out somehow. Just be warned that it doesn't really tolerate direct sunlight. The leaves burn really quickly. Here we have a prayer plant, also known as Maranta, another one with fabulous leaf veins, me and my leaf veins. And this one, I keep it in my enclosed porch, and nobody ever passes by this plant and not say a word about how beautiful it is. Not even the postman. Plant it in soil with good drainage, put it in the half shade, give it water, but do not soak it. This Calathea, oh, I have searched the world for this plant. It's very difficult to find it in Ireland, at least. I am finding it not too difficult to take care of, you know. It's not a very needy plant. I don't neglect it because I like it so much. I just like staring at it. So I'm really attuned to this plant and I can tell when it needs some water, it will slightly drop its leaves, or you can just observe the soil as well and see that it's dried off. I can see this one has signs of possibly bugs, maybe thrips. So I'll just insert a systemic pesticide stick in here. This Pilea is a little darling with its little circular leaves. Great house plant. It will also do well in the garden if you are in a tropical weather, of course, because it will not tolerate any temperatures below 13 Celsius degrees or 55 Fahrenheit. It's extremely easy to propagate, extremely easy to care for. It does like standing closer to the window. I water it plenty. The potting soil that I use for all of my plants will drain water very easily, so I guess maybe that's why I feel it's safe for me to water it as much as I can. Callisia Turtle have these tiny little leaves with a purple back. It's really charming. They're a great pick if you want to do a living wall or a vertical garden, something like this where you need different textures and different colors. Since their leaves are very small, very delicate, you may want a larger portion of it so it makes a statement, but it does bring a different texture. And this is another variety which I like more because it demands less watering. In fact, this one as a houseplant really tolerates neglect. In some tropical countries, this is considered a weed because if you had just an inch of it, like a piece of stalk with no leaf whatsoever, it will just come back from the dead and grow uncontrollably. But it doesn't tolerate cold, so I'm safe in Ireland. But it's useful to know that invasive plants, as a rule of thumb, do great house plants.